Welcome everybody to another episode of Rooted tonight. I want to thank you all for joining us and watching all these episodes, and I just hope so much that you guys are getting some out of this like I am. I'm learning so much about a bunch of the members of our church, and I really hope all of you are gaining that knowledge as well. But I just want to welcome you tonight, and our episode tonight is with one of our longtime deacons, Mr. Danny Ashley. Danny, thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
Thank you so much. And we'll just go ahead and get started with you, Danny, and just kind of tell us how long you've served in your position as a deacon and how long you've been going to Nazareth Baptist Church.
Okay, I know my mom and dad, we lived in Georgia for just a year or two. I was born just up the road here, about a mile and a half, and they moved to Georgia. Dad ran a grocery store over there for a couple of years, and they were very homesick and decided to come back to Sand Mountain. And I started school at 5 in first grade, and we probably started coming to church here when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And of course I've been in church here ever since. So that's around 65 or 66 years, something like that. As far as serving as a deacon, I believe 1978 is when several of us, there were 4 or 5 of us that were selected to be deacons. We were ordained in the summer of 1978. So again, probably about 42 years I've been serving as a deacon here at Nazareth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We thank you so much for that service. We know you do a lot for our church as a deacon, and we really do appreciate all you do. But and all these years you've been going here, I know you probably have many, many fond memories here at Nazareth. But what's one you'd like to maybe share with all of us? One of those fond memories that you have.
Well, naturally, growing up at Nazareth, I remember the old church that burned, and we would come in on Sunday mornings, and there were Sunday school classes in the 4 corners of the church. The women would meet in one corner, the men in another corner, and the youth. There were 4 little rooms on the back of the church, butted right up against the cemetery, and that's where the young people, or the kids' Sunday school rooms were. And we were taught by Jeanette Johnson, Jeanette Kirk, Ivell Pruitt, Dorothy Bowman. And we're talking about in the late 50s, early 60s. But I think one of the most fond memories is seeing all the different buildings built, because I've been here through the construction of what's now the old library, the original, or the church. We had just started the foundation and had the subflooring down when the other church burned in 1978. And I was old enough to help build that church. And then of course the what's Children's Church now, we built it, and then the new sanctuary and the Life Center, and never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined I guess the campus we've got here at Nazareth. So that's one of the most fond memories, is all the different phases of buildings that we've done and the way the church has grown, from when we would have 20 or 25 people on Sunday night, and we only met maybe twice a month on Sundays. Didn't have a Wednesday night service, and Sunday night service, 20, 25 people. And then we met at Plainview School in 1978 for about 6 months. The church burned in July of 1978, and we met at Plainview School in the lunchroom while the church was being built. And the day we moved back into the church, it was completely full.
Man.
Overflowing that day.
Yes.
In December of 1978.
God, that's amazing. Just see how much it's changed and everything, and just
Sure has.
grew in numbers too. So man, that's so great. Well, Danny, can you just share with us how the gospel's kind of impacted your life?
Yes, my dad ran a grocery store about a mile south of Rainsville, and I would go to all the Bible schools during the summer. Randy Tomlin was a friend of mine, and his mother would take Randy and I to Broadway to their Bible school. And then Kenneth Stowe's mom would pick me up at the store, and we would go to Rainsville First Baptist. And then of course my mom would work here at Nazareth during her Bible school, and I'd come here, so I'd get at least 3 Bible schools every summer. But I think it was the summer I had just finished 4th grade. And Kenneth Stowe's mom picked us up there at the store. 4 or 5 of us kids went to Rainsville First Baptist Church to Bible school. And my Uncle Luke Ashley was pastoring the church at that time. And his wife, Aunt Fanny, was working in Bible school, and my 4th grade teacher, Miss Udine Thompson, was actually my Bible school teacher. And I never will forget Uncle Luke talking to us about, salvation and how Jesus loved us, how he died on the cross for us. And I just know that I was brokenhearted because I knew that I wanted to know Jesus, and I went down that day at Bible school and gave my life to the Lord. And after it's over, I remember Miss Thompson talking to me in the Bible school room about getting saved. And that afternoon when they let me out at home, I really didn't know what to say. When I went in the store where my mom was, there was another preacher there talking to her in the store, Mr. Ed Graves. And I just went straight through, went out back. Dad was down in the yard doing something. I went down there and all I said was, "Daddy, I got saved today." And then, of course, he told Mother. We went from there, and I think that was probably about 1960. And then just a few Sundays after that, I joined the church and was baptized over here at Jim Tomlin's Pond.
Oh.
We didn't have a baptistry in the church, and all the baptizings were conducted over at Jim Tomlin's Pond. And they were 7, 8, or 9 of us that Sunday. We went over there after church, and they sang on the shores, and we were baptized by, I think, Truman, and I think another uncle of mine, Harrison Ashley, or a cousin, helped baptize me. So he had took us to the hospital when I was born. Dad didn't have a car, so Harrison took us to the hospital when I was born, and then he baptized me, and then he actually was the pastor or the preacher that united me and Ann in marriage.
Man.
So he had a lot to do in my life.
Yes, that is amazing.
Sure did.
That is amazing. Man, that's huge. That's huge. I know we've heard from everybody else we've interviewed some pretty funny stories from their times here at Nazareth, and I know there's probably a ton that come to your mind when you think about it, but what's one of the funniest stories that you can share with everybody that you have?
Yeah, some of the funny stories I probably don't need to tell because I may have got in trouble. My mother may have whipped me when I got home for some of it, but I remember really 2 things when I was a kid. Before we had restrooms in the church, the men's toilet was sitting right on the creek bank down here, just about where the front porch of the sanctuary is. That was where the men's toilet was. The women's toilet was back here about where the back corner of the sanctuary is, somewhere back in there. And after we got restrooms put in, the toilets were still there. And one year at Bible school, again, a lot of things happened at Bible school.
Yeah.
And Tony Bowman, we always blame it all on Tony Bowman, but we would get in the toilet, 3 or 4 boys, and the rest of us would throw rocks at the toilet. And sometimes they would come in the roof just below the metal and hit in the back. We'd laugh and have a big time, but for some reason we thought it would be real funny to tip the toilet over because it was never used anymore. And we got to rocking the toilet back and forth, back and forth. We finally got it balanced. And we all ran except Tony. And then Tony pushed it. And when it turned over, all you could see was the 3 holes in the toilet. Of course, we went back and somebody asked, what happened? We said, Tony Bowman pushed it over. And we didn't get in much trouble for that. But I never will forget, years later, Brother Shirey, he was our first full-time pastor. And Brother Shirey had a partial plate, false teeth. And he really got in the spirit one Sunday morning, and he was just preaching, and all of a sudden he said something. When he did, his teeth popped out. And it looked like Beetlejuice or something. They just popped out. And he just slapped his lips, and they just went back in. He never missed a beat, just kept preaching. But all the way home, Mother and Daddy were laughing about Brother Shirey almost spitting his teeth out on the pulpit. So those 2 things I really remember vividly. And a lot of things at Bible school, the Kool-Aid and the cookies and the commencement and all that kind of stuff. I remember a lot of those, the kids that were here, that some of them are no longer with us. They passed away, but I just remember all those teachers and those things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Danny, thank you so much for just opening up and letting us get to know you a little better. We really appreciate that.
Hey, I've enjoyed it, and I enjoyed when I got the questions, just thinking back over the years that I had been in church here, probably since about 1954 or 55. And times kind of got away, but I look around and I still see you know, a lot of the folks that I grew up with, and decoration is this weekend, and I'll see a lot of folks in the cemetery that I don't see but once a year, and fewer every year.
Yes,
but I appreciate you letting me do this.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. And I want to encourage all you guys, just thank Danny anytime you see him, send him a text, whatever, because he really does. He does a lot for our church and a lot that goes unseen. So I just really appreciate him and all he does for our church and all of our deacons so much. So thank them, love on them guys, because they really do. They do a lot behind the scenes. So we just thank you again, Danny, for taking time out of your day to do this for us.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us. We hope y'all have a good rest of the week.